Landing to every passenger is a sign of relief. It's an expectation that they'll be getting to their loved ones. But to a pilot, is the most critical stage of that flight. It's the time where all the tricks, all the skills he has gathered over the years is put into play to ensure that good, smooth and safe landing is achieved. Landing is said to be the most critical stage of flight, and so many factors are put into play when the aircraft are being sequenced and being arranged to achieve a good landing. Like I said, we'll be poking into the head of a controller, an air traffic controller and a pilot to look at what they do or what they think about or what comes to their mind or what flies through their mind when they're trying to give you that good landing, and why the controller is to give all parameters that will ensure that the pilot gets a good landing. As an air traffic controller, your aim is to provide a safe, efficient conduct of flight. Even though expeditiousness is there, the best thing you think about is the safety. So when you are in control of so many aircraft and they are all coming in to land, the first thing that comes to the head of an air traffic controller is the sequence in which they will land. Who is going to be number 1, who is going to be number 2, who is going to be number 3, and who is going to be number 4 or thereabout till they get to the last number. And so so many things comes into your head like, how am I going to arrange them? Because one, you are going to think about the approach sequence, which is what I talk about, the sequencing. Then you talk about the aircraft performance. Those things are going to come into play when you're trying to achieve or arrange your aircraft in the order that will make it fast, safe and efficient for everybody. The performance of an aircraft will determine the distance, the entry pattern. If it's coming from an offset, meaning is the distance to land shorter, or the time that will take it to land from present position will be shorter, it will be best for you to bring the one that will come early to land as number 1 ahead of the one that will take a longer time. Because when you bring the one that will take a longer time based on his performance or his entry pattern, then it's going to delay others, because you still have to ensure that there's separation between the slower one and the faster one. Another thing you think about is the runway configuration. Sometimes weather phenomena affect the runway configuration. Aircraft might be positioned in another runway direction which might not favor it based on some weather phenomena. Then you need to arrange and see, okay, can I take it to the other runway to ensure that they get the best bet. So those things come into play in everything. Another thing you do is to know the requested instrument approach procedures, or the one that you give or the one that you are available based on the instrument and approach aid available. Are you coming through RNAV? Are you coming through PBN? Are you coming through visual approach? Those things comes into the mind of the controller. Then the wind effect, the meteorological conditions also affect all those things that comes into the mind of a controller. When all these things have been thought about or has been arranged in your head, then a decision is made and it is known as the sequencing of those aircraft. Who is going to be number 1, who is going to be number 2. If you need to use your speed to ensure that the separation is effected, you will do that. If it's traffic information, it is being done. Number 1, the aircraft performance play a big part. If you know you are working with an aircraft that can give you or can achieve what you feel a good or execute a good landing, then you are in the right place. The wind is another factor you need to think about. The wind in encompassing the meteorological conditions, from the wind to the temperature, the QNH, that is the altimeter setting. Those 3 things play a big role in how the pilot is going to fly his aircraft and position it for landing, which will make it safe, sound and smooth. The aircraft weight is another thing. When an aircraft is heavy, it causes drags, it affects the performance of an aircraft, and it brings more work or brings more skill in ensuring that they land safely. That comes into the end of a pilot also, the weight of the aircraft at that time. The runway configuration is another thing. The aerodrome elevation is another thing. The landing distance available, that is another essential information that comes into the head. What is the distance of this runway? Can I achieve this landing using this kind of skill, or using this kind of landing skill or procedure or type of landing? The approach and landing aids available is also another thing. You might request for something if it's not assured that you can get that instrument approach procedures, the one available. How can I do it? What can I do to achieve what I need to achieve? That is another. Am I going to come visual and work on me just seeing the runway and trying to bring the aircraft down and lining it to the center line and getting it down? You start thinking, oh, are these things too much for that? Pilots think about. That's why I said from the beginning, all the skills he has gathered over the years through training, through exposure, through flying time is going to come into play, and in less than 10-15 minutes those things will put in play at once for him to execute that good landing. The aerodrome elevation takes place too. It comes into his head too. He's also thinking about the wind, the meteorological conditions, which of the landing direction, which of the runway is going to make me have this good landing that I desire. Apart from the landing aids and the aerodrome elevation and the landing distance available, the weather phenomenon adds to. Then the skill, like I said, the skill of that pilot come into play. The more you land an aircraft, the more you are used to an airport. Sometimes being used to an airport make it easier for you because you are aware of all the parameters about the airport, and it make it easier for you to get that good landing. And anytime you're coming to land and the weather is good, cargo okay, meaning cloud and visibility okay with all the parameters, and you're not affected by any form of meteorological conditions or weather, when all these things are thought about, a good landing can be achieved. Like I said, aircraft performance. Then don't forget the skill of an air traffic controller work into play also. When a pilot and an air traffic controller work together as one, then a good landing will be achieved because the heading or the information needed is being given at the right time. And when a pilot cannot accept that and he can tell the controller can give him a needed clearance that will make it effective for him to land at that particular time. So with all this in play, like I said, we poked into their head. These are so many things that come into play. Then you now look at it like, okay, I'm an air traffic controller, I have so many aircraft come. What other things can affect how I land? That is where the priority for landing comes in. When you're planning to land an aircraft, there are so many things that comes into your head. If you have an aircraft which they term emergency aircraft, that means it's being compelled to land due to factors affecting the operation of that aircraft, then it comes in as number one. The approach sequence changed, it comes in as number one. If you also have an aircraft that is an ambulance aircraft carrying sick, injured, or even dead people, or people need serious or immediate medical attention, they are given priorities. Another one is aircraft proceeding with respect to search and rescue, flying to help another aircraft in need, then priorities are also given to those aircraft. Then you now have the VIP aircraft. Those are for the president, which is 10 minutes before and 10 minutes after landing or takeoff, where the airfield is sterilized, or the vice president, which is 5 minutes after or 5 minutes before, which is a standard procedure due to operational reasons. This might cause delay, but when all these things are not there, then all aircraft will come according to the plan, the traffic planning of an air traffic controller, and the cooperation of a pilot, and the cooperation of the aircraft itself. Because there might be cooperation between an air traffic controller and a pilot, but when the aircraft is not given or is not executing well, what is needed, then it might be a big problem for the sequence. So landing, so essential, so critical, the best thing ever for passengers, to pilots, to controllers, is the critical stage. As a controller will always be happy at every landing and every departures. The pilot will also be happy for a smooth landing and safe and sound, and the sound or the joy of every passenger is being irradiated inside the aircraft. My name is Golf Oscar, Aviation and other jargons of this channel, and you know this is the best place you can get the best in aviation. And if you really want the best in aviation information, discussion, anything at all that leads to aviation and education, subscribe to this channel, drop a comment, like this video. Hey, give me some ideas, let us talk about it, because this is the only place that you can get the best in aviation. So subscribe, and don't forget to subscribe. So till we see you next time, bye and enjoy yourself, and hey, be safe.